I never imagined that one careless, thoughtless comment could unravel the most beautiful moment of my life. But it did. It splintered something sacred in the space of a few seconds, right when happiness was standing at my doorstep, quiet and certain, holding out its hand with a ring. Jason and I had been together for 4 unforgettable years. We met at a friend's wedding, danced until our feet ached and our cheeks hurt from laughing. From that night on, it was like gravity kept pulling us closer. He was the kind of man who steadied you in storms. Kind, sharp-witted, patient in a way that made you breathe easier. He made me feel safe in a world that so often didn't. For months, I'd been quietly hoping he'd propose. He'd started dropping small hints, talking about neighborhoods with good schools, baby names he liked, even mentioning a dog someday. I'd play it cool, laugh along. But secretly, I was already envisioning the lace on my dress, the way his eyes would look when I walked down the aisle. I told my best friend I could feel it coming. She smiled across the wine glasses and whispered, "It's close. I just know it." While love was blooming in one part of my life, something darker was growing in another. Work had become uncomfortable in ways I couldn't always name. My boss, Mr. Reed, had started behaving differently. Less like a supervisor, more like a man testing boundaries. He lingered after meetings, complimented my clothes in a way that made my skin crawl, sent messages after hours that I never responded to but always deleted. I didn't encourage him. I kept things strictly professional, even though something about it all made me uneasy. Still, I told myself to stay quiet. I didn't want to cause trouble. I just wanted peace, just Jason. The day it all began to unravel started like a dream. Jason told me to be ready by 7 p.m. and to wear something pretty, adding a playful wink that made my heart race. When he picked me up, he was in a dark suit, the same one he'd worn when he met my parents. There were roses in the passenger seat, fresh, deep red, and tied with ribbon. He looked nervous, adjusting his tie more than once as we drove. I touched his arm gently and asked if everything was all right. He just nodded and smiled like he was holding in something big. He took me to the restaurant where we'd had our first date. The table was lit with candles that flickered softly in the dim light. When he hung his coat over the chair, I caught a glimpse of a small velvet box nestled in the inside pocket. My breath caught. My hands trembled in my lap. I already knew what was coming, and I had never felt so ready, so sure. I wanted to cry just from the joy of it. Then his phone buzzed. He glanced down, and the expression on his face shifted, just slightly, but enough. Confusion furrowed his brow as he looked up at me. "It's your boss," he said, his voice uncertain. "That's weird." Jason never received messages from Mr. Reed. I leaned in to see. It was a forwarded voicemail. "You should hear this," Jason said quietly, pressing play. Reed's voice came through the speaker, calm and confident, laced with smugness. "You're lucky to have her, Jason," he said with a low chuckle. "But between us, man to man, if I hadn't been her boss, maybe things would have turned out differently. Let's just say those long nights at the office weren't always about work. You know what I mean?" My stomach dropped. "What?" I gasped, horrified. My voice sounded so small. Jason was staring at me now, eyes locked, unmoving, unreadable. His hands had stopped mid-reach across the table. "What the hell was that?" he asked, his voice sharp with disbelief. "I don't know," I stammered. "I swear I don't know why he would say that. It's not true. Jason, nothing like that ever happened." He didn't blink. Then why would he even think it? There was hurt in his voice. Disgust. Something broken forming behind his calm. "I don't know. He's been acting weird lately. Maybe he thought it was a joke. Maybe he thought you'd find it charming or funny or... I don't know. But I swear, Jason, nothing ever happened. Never." He shook his head, slow and quiet. "Do you know how humiliating that was to hear? Right before I was going to ask you to marry me." I reached for his hand instinctively, but he pulled back. That rejection cut deeper than I could have expected. "Please believe me," I whispered, trembling. "I love you. Only you." He leaned back in his chair, his eyes drifting to the velvet box on the table, like it had turned into something foreign. This ring, it was supposed to be the star forever. Now I don't know what it means anymore. Tears blurred my vision. Everything felt like it was slipping from my fingers. Don't let one man's disgusting comment destroy what we have. But he didn't say anything. He just stood, picked up his coat, and slid the box back into his pocket. I need time, he murmured. And then he walked away. I sat there, unmoving, surrounded by candlelight that suddenly felt cold, the warmth of the room drained by a few cruel words. Strangers at surrounding tables glanced over and then away again. The hum of conversation returned, but I felt outside of it all, as if my heart had fallen out of my chest and shattered across the tiles. Later that night, I called Reed, shaking with fury. "What the hell did you say to Jason?" He laughed. Actually laughed. It was just a little harmless teasing. Didn't think he'd take it so seriously. It wasn't funny. I snapped, my voice trembling. "You ruined everything. If he's that insecure," he said carelessly, "maybe he wasn't the one for you." I hung up before I could scream. My hands were trembling. The next day, I filed a formal complaint. I had proof of the message. HR took it seriously, but none of that mattered to me anymore. Not really. I didn't care about Reed or office politics. I just wanted Jason. I just wanted what we'd almost had. I texted him, called. I even went to his apartment once, heart in my hands, but he wasn't ready. He opened the door and said softly, "I just need to think." Days became weeks. Weeks turned into months. The proposal that had almost happened became a silence that never broke. Sometimes I wonder, what if he hadn't listened to that voicemail? What if he had asked me before the message came? Would we be married now? Would we be choosing a crib together, arguing over kitchen tiles, laughing in bed about baby names? But life doesn't bend for what-ifs. It only moves forward, whether you're ready or not. I still believe he loved me, and I know with all my soul that I loved him. But trust, real trust, is delicate, like glass. Even if the crack wasn't your fault, the reflection can still break. And sometimes, no matter how hard you try, it doesn't go back the way it was. He was just about to propose. We were just about to begin. And then one man's careless, disgusting comment destroyed everything we had built.